we'll call the meeting to order now since we've got a fair number of people here, and it is time for Councilor Bergman. We'll give Charlie a brief minute to say if you can keep your remarks brief, and then we'll roll right into the presentation on the charter changes with Councilor Bergman here.
And can I just say, I second the motion to hold.
Thank you.
Fair point.
Well,
Informal tonight.
informal. Yes, I don't know how loud I am. Hope I'm not too loud. I just wanted to say, well, I've been keeping track of the news, and I just wanted to tell everybody I think that this is going up fast, and it's going to come down fast. And we'll be here when the thing is over. The news, even the way they cover the news is news. But we see what we can do, and Bernie is a great guy to have down there, and I'm glad we have him. Bless this meeting.
Thank you, Charlie. All right, Councilor Bergman, we'll turn it over to you. We'll set your purview, whichever charter change you wish to lead with.
Thank you, Chris. Hello and good evening to everybody. I'm Gene Bergman. I'm the Ward 2 City Councilor and the chair of the Charter Change Committee. And we have got 3 charter changes that are being proposed to the voters for your vote, yes or no. All 3 were unanimously supported in both their content and on putting them on the ballot. So by everybody on the council, which is a rare thing, as I think you all know. The first one is a charter change to change the existing law that we've got, our existing charter, regarding the regulation of notices to landlords and from landlords with regard to terminating a tenancy and increasing rent. They don't actually go down, but it would be changes in, changes in rent or other lease terms. Right now, the ordinance, and it was done in the, I think, about 15 or 20 years ago, we got the authority to allow the city to pass ordinances to require that landlords provide a at least a 90-day notice for the termination of a tenancy when a tenant has been less than 2 years, and when and a little bit longer, 120 days when it has been for over that period of time. And what we've noticed is that the amount of time that it takes to get rental housing when a tenancy is being terminated, and this is particularly true in the areas of the city that are predominantly young people and students, where the landlords are basically making leases only go for 1 year and requiring that people have to give notice fairly long, that there is no housing available in the time that people are getting their notices. And when a tenant is needing to leave and they've got to give a similar notice, it's not the right notice. And the reasoning is, and the reason for doing this is that the imbalance between landlords and tenants right now is incredibly large, and there is just very little housing for people to move into. So the proposal, and it came out of the Community and Neighborhood Revitalization Committee, and then to our committee, is to just allow the city council to adopt by ordinance the a notice requirement when landlords are going to say that they're going to terminate the tenancy, and that tenants are going to say that they want to move, and also when there are changes in rent and other lease provisions. And what this will allow us to do is tailor the law to the existing housing situation. Right now, we have a housing crisis, but if a lot of houses come online and there's a lot more choice and a lot more availability, we have the ability we would have the ability to change the ordinance to reflect that. And right now, you've got to go through this process where you got to get a charter change drafted. There's all these public hearings, then it has to go to the voters, and then most importantly has to go to the legislature, and the legislature has to approve it, and then the governor has to sign it. So this will allow the city council to draft laws that reflect the needs of people, and that is the very first charter change. How about we just save questions?
Okay.
And let me just run through them all. It may be just a lot easier for me. Thank you. Appreciate that. The second charter change relates to redistricting. And I think that I recognize everybody in the room. So I think you've all been here for quite some time and probably remember the last redistricting where we went to districts. We went to 12 members and we changed the lines. I mean, and so you've got, the Ward 3's lines were changed, and Wards 2, the differentiation between Ward 2 and Ward 3, big changes in the configuration of Ward 8. Those were really the big ones. So the law itself and our charter requires that every single line in a district is put down in the charter itself. And the charter for our redistricting is like 100 and I'm just looking at it right now, at 195 lines of type. So what we are proposing to do is allow voters of the city of Burlington to approve of the election districts for city districts for our wards and our districts, or however we would decide to do that, to have those proposed by the city council to the voters, and upon the passage by the voters, then it would go into effect. Right now, like the first charter change I said, you've got to then get it approved by the legislature. It's got to be approved by the governor. We are not proposing that the voters don't have the say in Burlington, but it makes no sense, and it made no sense to all of the city councilors, the entire city council, to have people in Brattleboro, people up in Morgan, Vermont, people in Bennington, people up in St. Albans vote on whether we divide Ward 3 on North Street or Elmwood Avenue or on King Street or Maple Street. I mean, their ability to make fair and reasonable judgments is just non-existent, because they don't have really an interest in this, nor does the governor. So the proposal is simply to put this in the hands of Burlington voters, which means taking those decisions in terms of the lines out of the charter. And that is what this does. Montpelier has this this type of proposal. So it is not the first, we would not be the first community to do this. And, most communities don't have the number of wards and the number of districts that we've got. This is a wholly Burlington created system, and it really should remain that. So that is the second charter change. And the third charter change relates to putting back on the ballot something that about 70% of Burlington voters supported in 2014, which is a ban on guns in bars. The theory is quite simply that guns and alcohol don't mix. And this was passed by 70% of Burlington voters in 2014. It has languished down in the legislature. They're not making any movement on it at all. Governor is not getting behind it at all. This, we were advised by our legislators, would be an important way to bring that item back. The fact that we haven't voted on it in 11 years means that people will want to know what the people of Burlington want with regard to guns in bars. This, I think, it was really spurred by the murder at Red Square this summer. And it is exactly what was proposed in 2014. I think that I've given you the summary. There will be short forms. In other words, the full charter change, including things that are going to be deleted and things that are going to be added, will be in every polling booth, and it should be mailed, and they'll be posted. It is posted at the City Hall at the city clerk's office, so people can see exactly what the charter will be changed to. But if we were to put all of the language in the ballot itself would be incredibly long, and the yes or no would be, like many pages away from all of the language. And so we have short forms, what are called short forms, that attempt to summarize what we're doing in language that has been drafted by the city attorney's office and supported by the entire city council. So that's what you will see on the ballot itself, the yes or no questions, but the full text is available to every voter in both the mailings and in the polling place if you go to vote in person. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bergman. Does anyone have any questions?
Yes.
Amy?
I have one question, which is there going to be a copy of the charter changes on the city website so that people
They
can
should
find
be
it there?
They should be there, yes. And if they are not, you can either email me if you want me to follow up with that, or you should contact the city clerk's office. Yes. And maybe I'll put this, I'll minimize this and try to go to the city's website right now. Let's see if I can quickly get there and see if it's up there as we speak. If there's another question while I'm doing that, that'd be great. Otherwise, elections.
Anyone else?
I have a second question, which is, could you explain again how what the redistricting problem is?
The problem is simply that Montpelier has to approve our districts, and the time that takes and the effort that it takes is in our estimation a waste. I mean, again, there's no reason why people pick your place in Vermont should decide that we are going to make Ward 3 go all the way down or not go all the way down to Maple Street, and which side of the Maple Street it is. It just makes no sense at all. Why should they do that? Why should the governor have, the veto over that? So that is really the reason. People of Burlington should be able to say that, and that's what we're trying to to say, you know, pure and simple. And
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Well,
And I'm not seeing right now the wait, let me just, okay, it says sample ballots. Let's just, so I am going to look at Ward 3's sample ballot right now. And the charter changes are on there, but they're in the short form. So that is the sample ballot. The warning, let's just make sure. Let me just look at the official copy of the proposed charter changes. So the answer is yes. It is on the city's website. You have to go to the clerk treasurer's page, and then on elections, there's a tab on the left on elections. And then on there are sample ballots that have the actual ballot. And then you have also got the copies, the official copy of the proposed charter changes. So they are there, and they should be easily accessible. But again, if somebody wanted to email me and have me walk through how to get there, I'd be happy to do that. The clerk's office are really the people who are in charge of that. So you could always contact them to have them do the same thing, but they are there online.
thank you. Anything else?
I don't know if this is the case. In the voting booth in person, there'll be a full copy of the whatever you have ballot questions. I don't know if that'll happen in these three cases, but oftentimes you can pull, they just reduce it down to the ballot itself, but there'll be a full copy in the voting booth of the charter, in my experience.
I'm sorry, that might have been Charlie Giannoni, and he might have been running the camera, but I didn't quite hear him. But I think he was, if I got it right, saying that the full copies are available for people. Did I get that right?
Yes,
What he said?
on
Okay.
election day.
Yes, on election day. But with early voting, I think it's really important that people get a chance to see them beforehand. And so, yeah, that is not sufficient that it's just on the at the polls. But yeah, and so my hearing aid worked. That's very good. I'm very happy about that.
Yes, okay. Anything else?
I had a couple questions.
Okay, Chris?
In terms of the time frame for this, let's just say it's best case scenario, all three charter change passes. They will be sent down to the legislature sometimes very shortly after the March 5th election. My guess is we're going to be hitting what the deadline that's known as crossover in the legislature, which is when the bills from the corresponding chamber from the House have to go over to the Senate, and where the Senate bills have to come over to the House and they reconcile. I'm kind of wondering that with that time frame, it seems to me that this may not be an issue that would actually be taken up by the legislature until probably January 2026 at the earliest. Is that a correct understanding?
No, that is not, and that's because all charters have to get through during town meeting day, not with the exception if there was a special election. And we're not the only charter city. So the legislature is set up to be able to deal with charter changes if they choose. Now it could be that they won't do this, and that is a possibility, I think, with regard to both the housing and the guns in the bars. Both of those are, something that, some people may consider to be controversial. And so that is the political process. But in terms of the actual timing of this, they are well positioned, and this is something that normally happens. And so as a matter of course, this should not get hung up in in the legislature by those crossover requirements.
So the hope is that it will come, quote unquote, off the wall at House government operations and be considered in a timely and expeditious manner.
That is the hope. Again, that's where politics comes in. And to be quite honest, in politics, if there is an overwhelming vote in favor of something, that is, significantly better. When there are not as overwhelming votes, it can give people down there the excuse to slow walk it. I don't think that these will run into the non-political problems. They might run in, like I said, those two might run into those, but the nature of the proposals and the nature of the problems that they're addressing, I think, give them as good a shot as any in terms of making it to the governor's desk.
I have two more questions. One, looking around the room here, we have a number of renters here. So obviously, I think the charter change with respect to the notice period is helpful. One thing that I think a lot of us renters have noticed is that particularly in certain neighborhoods, the leases typically run from June 1st until May the 31st. And we've heard from a number of folks that tenants are being asked to declare their intentions sometimes as early as November or even January before their lease is up, some 4 to 6 months in advance, which I'm not sure that that's a reasonable expectation by any stretch, given our current housing market. Would this charter change allow the city to provide limits on that, such that a
Yes.
landlord? So it's possible, if this passes, the council could pass an ordinance requiring that those decisions may not be made any earlier than 60 days out, say, for example?
Yes. That's my read of this. What it says is that the ordinance can set the requirements regarding landlords providing notice prior to termination, including the requirements for the content and timing of those notices. And in fact, they can also include special requirements for vulnerable populations, including elderly tenants and tenants with disabilities and low-income tenants. So
Yep.
I read that as having that possibility. And the converse piece is also in here, where the requirements can be set for tenants, and obviously that means that you get to tailor the ordinances based on the housing situation, in this case a housing crisis.
So in the hypothetical scenario that I had outlined, if that were to become an ordinance, assuming the passage of the charter change, there could potentially at some point in the future of the city be such that a landlord could not be asking a tenant to declare their intentions before, say, April 1st.
Yep.
That's a potential scenario.
I think so.
And
That's my read of it.
does the notice period apply when the lease is a finite term, 1 year, and we know it's going to come to an end date certain, May 31st? Does the notice still have to go out, or is it only if the lease is terminated prior to the 1 year or the contractual period, I guess?
This proposal just says that we can establish by law requirements that landlords provide tenants notice prior to termination of the rental tenancy. So I think that the intricacies of the leases and how they terminate and then notices that are given will fall within that, but they've got to be set out. So I think the potential is there to regulate that, but we're not doing it with specificity. And that really is the purpose. The purpose is to allow us to work through the details and to also then be able to change them as need requires.
And my last point is my recollection is we actually have a fourth charter change that has already advanced down to the legislature, having passed on the November election, and that is their charter change related to the police oversight. So that should already be
that is already there.
Legislature.
Yep, that is for their consideration.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? I once heard, supposedly, if there is silence for 7 seconds, that means we can move on.
Great. It's
Oh,
golden.
it was a little quick, but speak now or forever hold your peace. Okay, thank you, Jeannie.
Great. Well, thank you all.
Uh,
Have a great night.
Thank you,
and-
Counselor Bergman.
Yep, yep. Your school board people are doing a great job, and I'm really pleased just to throw this in that they're talking about is it a 4 cent or a 4% change, decrease in the property tax. So thank you for having me. And I encourage everybody to vote on this, and hopefully it will pass. They will all pass with strong support. Thank you. Good night.
Yes, thank you.
I just wanted to say that I've been at a training down in Montpelier for 3 days that have included school board members from across the state of Vermont, and I was quite proud to be able to tell them, as they were talking about an increase in their budget, that while in Burlington, we're actually looking at an increase. So, it was a win. Thank you for the work that you do.
All right, so next on our agenda is the school budget presentation from Burlington School Commission Chair Claire Wool. Thank you.
Everyone, nice to meet you. Thank you for having me. Latasha McDonald represents Ward 3 along with Commissioner Jeannie Waltz here for the district. And Latasha has recently been working nights, so I am filling in for her. I live in Ward 6 and represent Ward 6 as well as the chair. Thanks. Thank you. So I'm thrilled to be here tonight. Thank you for having us. Thank you, Commissioner Waltz, for handing out the handouts. I did send a slide deck, but I can walk through it. I had sent it on your email, but if you don't have it, don't worry. No? Okay, so no worries.
Now, and if we can get it up there in the moment, that'll be great. Check it.
Or don't worry, because I can talk through it, and also I had included the annual report just to show great materials that we have for citizens of Burlington to look at. You can always go to our website, BSD, Burlington School District, BT.org, and we have all of our information up there.
It can get linked in the notes.
Yeah, that's even better, so we'll do that. So this year, as was mentioned by Councilor Bergman and your steering committee, we are looking at a reduction in the tax rate of a decrease of 4% in the school budget. This comes at a time that last year we presented a double-digit increase based on the rising costs of our benefits and wages. Healthcare has gone up significantly in the last 4 years, now that we've done statewide bargaining for all teachers, the teachers union throughout the state of Vermont. So that impacted our budget substantially last year, as it does this year, and also the bond. We borrowed the substantial amount of our debt service on our new high school and technical center campus came last year on the shoulders of Burlington citizens. So we greatly appreciated a number of years ago, we're going on 3 years now, where voters passed the bond, $160 million bond, but that only gives us the authority to borrow. So we celebrated when voters said we passed the bond, and then the actual borrowing comes within each of our budgets. So last year was a big tax increase to Burlingtonians based on that bond. And like I said, we were incredibly appreciative. We have run a strong financial school district over the last 8 years that I have been on the board, as well as Commissioner Waltz. And we were determined to deliver a savings to the citizens of Burlington based on that unsustainable increase that was happened last year. We understand that our goal is not to, oh my gosh, it's my line I always say, that everyone says, on that trajectory, we would make Burlington unaffordable, continually unaffordable to Burlingtonians, whether you own or rent, because the rent would go up to everyone, and the hardships that people face. So how did we get here? This is chock full of information. We start at the top. Town meeting day and early voting will happen. The ballot language is dictated by the state, the actual wording, and it is confusing. So we are doing our best to get the word out among citizens of Burlington by meeting with each of the NPAs and walking through it and answering questions. All of our information as school board members and contact numbers are always on the website for phone calls, emails, you name it. So as we look at this ballot language, it says our budget is $134 million. Then you go down to the next statement. The Burlington School District estimates this proposed budget. This is a per pupil spending is $14,000, which is 6.7% higher than spending from the current year. So that's the confusing part. So because we have increased costs still in the district each year, which you'll see in the proposed property tax rates by 4%, you see increase in wages and benefits for all of our teachers. We have an increased cost of $5.6 million. Our funding for future facilities is at $600,000. Our inflationary growth debt service still paying off the BHS BTC bond, and our which gives us our total budget. So the 6.474% is just about our per pupil. So it has nothing to do with the tax rate. The tax rate will be at the 4% decrease based on our per pupil weighting. Again, long and sometimes confusing, but through the state, we get charged per pupil. So $14,000, $14,825 per pupil that is in the Burlington School District is what our spending is at. And therefore, we develop our budget based on that and what the Ed Fund will give us. So I know that might sound confusing, but I'll stop and answer any questions you might have. So going down to the decrease, the tax impact estimates. So for a property taxpayer, the $370,000 homestead is a figure that the Department of Taxes typically uses for a medium house. We know households are much more expensive in Burlington, but that is the number that the state gives us. So when some people say it's a little disingenuous, 370, when we know it might be based on the rates here, that the grand list rate, but that's what we go by the state. And then it shows also for income sensitivity and income taxpayer sensitivity based on that homestead, and then for income, below 50,000 income. So I just wanted to give you those rates are based on state, how the state dictates it. Here we go. So what drives our allocations, budget highlights? And I really think if we go to flip over to the next page, what's the story behind the tax rate, is over the course of the years that I've been on the school board, we have seen drops in enrollment, but I believe we are an anomaly because there are drastic drops in enrollment throughout the state, but not the numbers that we see in Burlington. We continually have robust schools, 6 elementary schools. Some schools are at full capacity, some have some wiggle room. Our pre-K, we have pre-K at every elementary school that has robust enrollment, and our middle schools as well. We see standard variation in enrollment, but nothing drastic. And we are also benefiting from City Place, I was going to say the Pit, City Place housing that's going up, and Cambrian Rise housing that's going up, and other developments that we see throughout the city. So we are hopeful, unlike other, I just wanted to say, the narrative throughout the state and in Montpelier might be enrollment trends are going down and we have to cut education costs and consolidation. And I understand that, but not in Burlington, not necessarily not in Burlington, affirm not, but in Burlington we have had consistent enrollment. at this time. And so based on that, what was my point, is that we have, when those enrollments have gone down, we have reduced staff. So it's right size enrollment. So if at the high school, we've seen 82 less students, we have cut a math teacher, or we have cut another, a staff person based on those circumstances. And same in elementary schools. If we have many fourth graders and they move up to fifth grade, or we don't have bubbles in certain grades, we have to hire a teacher or kindergarten. But then when those bubbles are calmed down, then we reduce that teacher, if that makes sense. So we have been responsible. Our audits each year have been clean audits over the last 8 years. We just had a board meeting last night, and our finance and facilities, and we typically have savings each year, not gross amounts of savings, but what's based on our school budget, what is normal business practices to have. We are appreciative of that oversight by the district and by the board, is what I was trying to say. Next is, what else would I want to say about the budget? So it will be our job, the city council, we've presented twice to the city council. They're very appreciative, obviously, in the climate, based on the bonds that they have putting forth, even though they are utility bonds that will be on utility bills versus bonds that are on your property tax. So they are appreciative of this because they were very supportive of us last year in the bond and understood why the school tax rate had gone up because of our Burlington investment in our high school and tech center campus. I am open to answering questions here tonight. I do have just some talking points that we said. So the average home, a savings about $238 with a 4% decrease in tax. Again, that's based on a $370,000 home. Again, highlighting Burlington taxpayers have been very generous supporting our new high school and technical center and all of our facilities upgrades, our integrated arts academy, our academic dollars go towards facility upgrades. It has been 14 years the state of Vermont put a moratorium on construction aid. So your academic dollars pay for every water main break, boiler break. You receive no funding from the state for any facilities improvements, and that is very rare throughout the United States. Most states give 40% construction and facility aids to keep their infrastructures up. And we have tried and lobbied at the State House, but they have just said that is not, I think it's too daunting because too many infrastructure schools throughout the state of Vermont are in disrepair, and communities can't afford at this time the cost of construction and renovation or new building. We entered the budget planning season keeping it in mind that what the taxpayers have paid. Our goal was to keep taxes down and give schools more control of their resources. We do a RISE allocation so that every school, we ask them what their needs are, not just a blank check, but they work within all of our school districts. So if there is a school that has higher needs, the schools that are maintaining and not suffering or having such high needs would receive less, and the school that needs more would receive more, if that makes sense. So our RISE allocation. And like I shared, the past few years, we have slowly been reducing staff positions to align with our enrollment. We have been able to reduce staff through retirements also, so that we have not had to put massive layoffs in place, like other districts are having to do. ESSER funds were emergency relief funds at the secondary schools that the federal government gave during COVID. And we know that districts throughout Vermont used some of those funds. It's not finger pointing, it's just fact for extra resources and personnel or staff. And so it's very challenging right now because those ESSER funds expired in the fall of 2024. And some of those schools still want to keep those staff members and individuals that are serving students. And it comes at a higher price, so that they, not a higher price, that now hits their budget, so they might have more tax increases, what you were speaking to, Chris. And
And we didn't do that.
yeah, we did not do that.
We planned ahead.
Because we said that will be detrimental when it goes away. And lastly, if I could educate all of you on Act 147. So 3 years ago, on top of our volunteer roles as school board members, we worked with the Agency of Education. They had asked for a commission to study our weighted pupil. How do we determine how much it costs to educate a student in Vermont? And there was no empirical data based on the way the state was determining that per pupil weights of a student. And for
Which determines how much money a district would receive to educate that child.
Right, thank you. And so we worked throughout the entire state of Vermont with many school districts to highlight throughout the United States how other states weight their pupils on with integrity and defensible measures. And it was presented to the Agency of Education, the legislature last year, and it was made into law, the new weight formulas that would give more money to districts that have higher needs students, whether it was higher needs of English language learners, higher needs with challenging interventionists, or coaching, reading, any gamut of what a student needs to be successful and succeed. And those weights went into effect, Act 127. So we, along with rural districts, city districts, us, Winooski, rural districts have finally benefited with the state's recognition of what it costs to educate students with higher needs than more affluent communities. And so the more affluent communities are very upset because now they have to do with less to a certain degree. And we are benefiting because we are finally, it's equitable. And I know that term is used a lot, but it truly is something now that shows proof in how much academic efforts and professionalism and needs based on curriculum and outlining support for students, it costs genuinely to what we spend per pupil. So based on our demographics, that has a lot to do with how we support our students and the acknowledgement from the state that those dollars are in fact going towards student support versus inflated library funds or inflated, areas that other districts had the benefit of having more money. Does that make sense?
Can I add
Yes.
a little bit? So, speaking to what you mentioned earlier about working with other school board members and how their taxes are going up, and also thinking a little bit about how construction aid hasn't the moratorium on it for the past 14 going on 15 years. For over 2 decades, the way that any district in the state received money was based on a funding formula or these pupil weights that was not equitable. So during that time, not only did we have to spend our taxpayer, what we did get from the state and what we did ask as far as, town meeting day, pass a budget, basically when we don't get enough money from the state, we go to our taxpayers and say, can you supplement the rest of what we actually need, right? Mm-hmm. So the reason that I really blame not just the weights, not just the moratorium on construction aid, on all of the deferred maintenance. So for 20 years, we are just getting by. Whereas these other districts who kind of could afford it and also could go to their taxpayers and pass budgets that were pretty generous, now they actually have to figure out how to save money. Like, imagine decades of this person has worked here for 20 years, and now we're looking at, like, we can't afford to keep them. So that is where that's coming from. They are very just used to operating with a certain amount of staff and money and resources. So it is a huge shift for them. So really,
Thank you.
they
Well
shouldn't
said.
be envious. They,
Right.
you know, of us. They shouldn't be envious of us. They should be like, oh, wow, oh, okay, yeah, now it's our turn to buckle down a little bit.
Yeah, good, thank you, that was great,
Okay,
thank
it would be
you.
a good idea for the two of you to identify yourselves and who you're.
Sure.
Oh, sorry, yeah, sure. My
You,
name-
you did. Claire did.
Okay.
I'm Jeannie Waltz. I'm the District Central School Board Commissioner.
Thank you.
So that was a lot, but happy to answer questions and appreciative of you all being here.
Thank you, Commission Chair Wool. Any questions? Yes.
How might Trump's executive orders affect the school district?
Well, we spoke last night, the superintendent spoke last night, and at this time, you know, we see things that could be affected, like after-school programming. It's all for, you know, I wouldn't be able to speak specifically, but they would be concerning, for sure. Yeah,
So the answer is concerning.
concerning, deeply concerning.
There are no direct impacts right now, you know, like the grants and stuff, they're still there.
They're in existence.
And then there's also other types of protections in place. Like even though, I don't know how to be specific about it, but like even though there might be this big thing about ICE and immigration and all that kind of stuff, you're still not allowed to come into a school building without a signed warrant. Like the judge has to sign it. But other procedures have been, I think, firmed up. You know, one-pagers have been made for all staff about like how, no, you just don't let anybody in the building, and
Yeah, I brought.
doesn't matter if they have a badge.
Right. I brought what we have sent around to all of our school staff, and we're going to pass it around
This is
as
like,
well as our
this is what I'm talking about,
district
actually.
procedures, following district procedures, that everyone is in the know. But thank you for your question.
Good, so you're thinking about it and doing things about it. Good.
Yes, for sure.
I didn't want to let it go.
Thank you. No, it's the elephant in the room.
Preparing these things were happening months and months ago
Yeah,
in anticipation for the possibility.
yeah.
When are these changes, and I'm Suki Rubin, when are these changes going to affect the different towns for the redistribution, or however we term that?
Is that for the overall education in the state of
Well,
Vermont?
The funding that you were describing, Act.
127,
yeah,
so
yeah.
this is its second year in effect.
Oh, it's already.
It passed, it
Oh.
was, and what they're talking about now on the larger scale is obviously education and taxes, and proposals through the agency and the governor. But Act 127 passed, and this is its second year in effect, and we want to make sure that it stays in effect.
Yes.
Yeah.
But, so they're having to process it and deal with it now. It's in effect.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Thank you.
In the governor's opening address for the legislature, he had said, you know, we're tinkering with formulas. And as I shared with City Council, we did not tinker formulas for Act 127. This is based on data, fact, in existence throughout other states, and is commendable based on the work that was done, not just by the coalition, but by the state legislatures and research and independent Rutgers, UVM professionals who, you know, had a neutral position in defining what exists to what it should be. Thank you for your question.
But we are worried that it's, you know, things might be tinkered with or reversed or so, but, you know, nothing has been proposed yet that would have a negative impact, so we're kind of just
Staying alive.
Holding
hoping,
our
but
breath,
like
yeah.
super alert, staying
But it would have
informed.
such a severe negative effect on Burlington, for sure, if it changed.
You will see me here talking about it if anything bad happens.
Yeah. Good.
Anyone else? Okay, Chris?
Just want to interject that I was in Montpelier yesterday and had the opportunity to sit in House Ed, Education Committee, and I believe I did see a couple bills tacked to the wall regarding school funding, so I think that there may be a few things that are taking up, which I would regard as a positive development. The only other thing that I would add is that one of our goals here at the NPA is to facilitate communication between ordinary residents and the branches of city government, and that also includes the school department. And I think it would be helpful for us if we could invite you to come back for a follow-up presentation and talk more about the demographics of the ward, how many students we have, where they're located. As a downtown resident, I don't know that we have very many students here, but I suspect we have a few in the Old North End and down in the King Maple neighborhoods, maybe a few on the waterfront. But again, one of the challenges we face here in Ward 3 is we have 4 very distinct neighborhoods to serve as an MPA. We have the downtown, we have parts of the Old North End, the waterfront, and the King Maple neighborhood. So we really want to try to do a better job of supporting you guys and providing an opportunity for folks in those neighborhoods to get out and share that. So if we had a better understanding of how many students are here and where they live and maybe what the challenges are, if there's issues getting to and from school, pedestrian safety, anything of that nature, it would certainly be within the purview of the NPA, and we'd welcome that discussion.
Thanks. Sure. You have great neighborhoods, great students, great families. Ward 3 is a robust ward, for sure.
Great
Yep.
old.
And, yes. Yes, I got to tap
Old
into
people.
some school volunteers. You're right. Everybody wins.
Yes.
All right, well, wonderful. Final call for questions.
And on that, there's a great annual report that we just came out that we are required by the state to put out 30 days before the budget, and it's a reflective of 2024. So great reading. I don't have it's many pages long, but amazing to look at.
Is there a possibility to get a hard copy version of that?
Yes, we will print them, and they'll be at Fletcher Free Library. They're going to be brought out throughout the state.
There'll be some here
Bring them
too.
when you come to the next meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can get some copies of
Is
that.
There'll
it
be-
online?
Yes, and it's
It
online.
is online
Yep.
now, but the hard copies they're going to the printers.
Yeah,
But
they'll be black and white.
Fletcher Free, City Hall, Old North End Community Center, there's,
Schools, well, not
All the
for
schools.
but yeah.
of course, they'll be at all the polling places on town meeting day.
Yes, yeah.
Quick question, do you know off the top of your head for 2024 in terms of the increasing diversity of
Yeah.
the schools, what the percentages are?
Yeah. It's in the annual,
had it,
it's in
yeah.
it's in the thing. I actually wanted to share it. That's why I was like, do you have it here?
I can pull it up, yep, because.
It's in the presentation thing. It will be in the notes. And it's also, it has it compared to all of Vermont too. Yeah. Do you,
Page.
yeah.
While
which-
we are searching for that, any
I
other
can
questions?
You wanna text it to me and then I'll text it to, I can text it to you after.
Okay, yeah, all right,
But,
I just
but,
was curious.
but as far as the number of students is 3,247, 60% are white compared to 88.7% in Vermont, like the average in Vermont. So, but just to let you know, how many different languages are there spoken? It's like 42 or something.
47.
47 different languages spoken at home. The Black African American is 18%, Asian 7%, Hispanic, state average is 2.5. Asian, state average is 2.2.
And we're 7.
Hispanic Latino is, yes, 5%. State average is 2.6. We are the most diverse school district.
Yeah.
in the state. Native Hawaiian, okay. 2 or more races, 9% compared to 3.5 for the rest of the state. Okay.
In our elementary and in the middle school, we feed it to gotta be the most, for central, gotta be the most diverse.
Yeah. Do you want me to text you the
The annual report.
annual report?
I can send it to you.
I got it.
Is it online?
Yes.
Yep,
On the
on the website.
www.bsdvt.org. It's really easy to remember. Well, maybe that's just.
All right, we are running of just about 5 minutes ahead of schedule, but that's all right.
This, or do you need this back?
I'll take that. You can keep it.
I
if
don't
you
know
need
if
it.
I have the final one.
Or do you mind if I take it and then I'll email it to you? Only because I'm using it for tomorrow night. I don't have a color printer at home. So,
Fair.
Do you want to take a photo of it?
yeah, do that.
Did, but it'd be nice to be able, it's not a great picture.
And color printing can be expensive.
Posted somewhere online too?
Yes. Yeah.
Charlie, take the pen out from underneath it.
Burlington School District website. Thank you.
Again, very formal meeting tonight.
Keep it moving.
Okay, so not to get lost in side conversations, but again, thank you, Commissioner Wool. And so next on our agenda is candidate forum, Jeannie Waltz, School Commissioner, School Central District, and Milo Grant, City Councilor, Central District.
Start with school commission. Start with school commission.
Yes, we will start with Jeannie, I guess, if you're all set.
So really, I'm basically here to say why I want to keep my seat or run again. Is that the goal here?
So we can ask you lots of questions.
Okay, well, I just want to, the reason that I'm running again is because I feel just really invested in seeing some things through. One being, of course, that the waits do not go away. I will fight to the death, you guys. I'm telling you, it's like really, really actually, it's hard for me not to get worked up about it. It's so wrong for so long. And for it to finally come to fruition, it is really hard to achieve equity in a predominantly white state, right? So it's a major accomplishment, and if it gets reversed in any way, it's going to be very upsetting. So, yeah. And of course, there's also seeing the high school, the doors open. I'm psyched about that. So that will be in my next term.
Okay, since we went on to the new agenda items, we should be very, since it's a different agenda, you should be very clear who you are and what you're running for.
I am Jeannie Waltz. I am running for District Central Commissioner, which is a school board seat.
Thank you.
And that District Central is Ward 2 and Ward 3.
All right, now that that is clear, questions?
I would like to know, which I probably should know already, what are the schools that are within Central District? Yeah.
Sustainability Academy and Integrated Arts Academy. Although Champlain is really close to that King Street neighborhood, but technically it's not.
And Jeannie, you've been on the school board for a while, right?
Uh-huh, yep.
Yeah. Like for how long? Seems like a long time.
Yeah, I'm really bad at keeping track of dates and stuff. I know, this is like horrible. But I was elected during a special election because somebody had to step down because they moved out of Burlington. I believe I was elected in 2018 in August, and then I had to run again, like right after that. It was bizarre. Yeah. Anyway, so I believe that this is technically my 4th term. 2, 4, 6, 8, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, that would make sense.
Chris?
Counting out loud.
How did it go?
Got it.
Did I get the math?
Well, it's 25, so you had 18, so you ran in 2019, 2021, 2023. So you got 3.5 terms, right? Three and a quarter, something like that. So
5 now.
right, so 2025.
They're 2-year terms.
I had to think that through a little bit, work a little backwards
Was I
there.
right when I said?
It's
I
late.
think you were, yeah.
Math is hard.
Chris is about to run out of fingers.
Yeah.
So my day job is an art
Ag
teacher.
NPA math.
Maybe that is part of why I'm not so good at math. I don't know. That side of my brain is a lot heavier than the math side.
I would just say, as a longtime resident of the city, I'm very grateful for the work that was done to get us a new high school. It's just unfortunate circumstances that led us there, but I'd hope that if we're able to solve the housing issue, that the school will be used as a magnet to bring more families into Burlington, and indeed could potentially be used as an economic development tool. So I think it's a good base to build upon.
I agree.
Anyone else?
You guys want to tell me what you're hoping to see as far as changes in the district? Whether, I mean, it could be anything. It could be about curriculum. It could be like, what's up with the hockey team?
Fair.
Play to the audience.
Civics,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
somehow
We want-
integrated.
We also want to make sure that those types of things are not outlawed, too.
Exactly. Which types of things? Civics.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys have heard, like in Florida, you can't teach Black history. Or read certain books, yeah, all that kind of stuff.
Well, I mean, I don't think you can even have an in-classroom library anymore unless the library is pulled from a list of approved books in Florida.
Well, keeping people uneducated is a great way to make a body of folks who are easily manipulated.
And
So I have a question. So what do you think of the size of the school board? Do you think, in your opinion, is 16 people on the school board too many people on the school board? Well, I know people on the city council that said that they thought 16 on the city council was too large, and that's why they had to reduce
Do we
it.
actually have 16 people? I thought we only have 12.
Right now you have 12, but in
Yeah.
the past you had 16. And part of the
I wasn't
redistricting
around
was
for
to
that.
reduce the city council and the school commission from
Okay.
16 down to 12. So do you think there's enough room on this, on the school board for 16 commissioners, or?
I mean, you know, many hands make light work. And we do a lot of, I mean, we actually do a lot of work. You know, I co-chair a committee with Commissioner Ivankich, and I can't imagine chairing a committee by myself. Even just having to take notes every month would just, I mean, I really dread it. I dread that stuff, but it's necessary. It's an open meeting law type of thing, right? But I just can't imagine why we wouldn't want more help and more perspectives, as long as it was sincerely diverse representation, you know. I've learned a lot from the other people on the board, and I feel like I've really been a contributor to helping them see a different view.
And the only reason I mention that is because like in Winooski, they only have, I think it's 5, and some people say that's not enough. They're saying there's too much work. Like a lot of school boards in Vermont are only 3 commissioners.
Okay, I hear you, but, you know, we're running 12 different, like, school building programs.
Yeah.
You know, we're close to 4,000 students. And then there's the tech center, too. That's a very complex and, I mean, like, amazing program or programs. So I don't know what to tell you. There's tons of work to do at the state level too, and depending on what you are, like anybody that's associated with the tech centers, there's a regional advisory board. There's tons of stuff going on about, alternative pathways and like funding, initiatives about like bolstering the workforce. There's tons of advocacy that can be done if, if a board member wants to get involved. Like, if you are doing that work, then you are supporting Burlington Tech Center.
Thank you for being out there. doing that.
One last
Yes.
question.
One last question.
So, is this a contract? Like, how much time does the board spend negotiating contracts? I think it may have changed a little bit since my tenure, but I know that there's a number of bargaining units, and I know that takes time, and it takes a lot of time and energy from the board to make that happen. I'm just curious how often and how much work that is to make that happen.
Well, there's really only 2 representatives from the board that actually sit down and do all the back and forth type stuff. And the people that are doing it are Claire and Jeffrey Wick. And they've been doing it for a long time, 8 years. Jeff also has a background in law. And of course, I mean, the main negotiating person is our attorney. And so the legal counsel is instrumental. Of course, we get updates. Of course, it's all in executive session. None of that stuff would be public. And there's 3 main bargaining, they call them bargaining units. Most people call them unions. Yeah.
So it would be the teachers, the paraeducators, and the custodial/kitchen staff, support staff?
Yeah, ask me. Do you know how to say that? Bargaining unit, ask me?
Oh, ask.
Ask.
It's not quite that, but now that I heard you say that, I
roll
can't
off the
remember
tongue.
exactly.
There's some consonants next to each other that like are awkward. I don't know if it's a af or a ax.
Ask me.
City staff are same.
Yes. Yep.
I think it's American Federation of State Municipal Employees.
Yeah,
And-
you're
and
good.
there's a C in there. I don't know what the C is for.
There is a C in there.
AFSCME.
Ask me. I'm saying it wrong. So, yeah, and they're happening. The back and forth stuff is happening. I know, okay, so hearing about this, every district is doing this, right? Every district is doing this. So soon as somebody comes out with an agreement, all the other unions or districts or whatever are like, well, so-and-so got this, right? And I'm just like, wow, this is like crazy making. How is it not more, like, how can we make it so that everybody sort of does their thing and then they just come out with it on the same day, rather than do this like, well, in Milton they're getting this, and in Middlebury they're getting this, and then they use that to like maybe bargain for more or maybe deny, right? It just seems.
I think one way that some other states have explored and have implemented is to make all of the teachers to be state employees along with state health care benefits, and that would eliminate, I think, the challenge of playing one district off the other, particularly when, districts have different resources and all of the things you've just outlined.
Now, doesn't that sound like it should work on some level? But then we did go to a statewide healthcare system. Like, we used to bargain for those benefits, right? And now we do not. And we have seen nothing but double-digit increases ever since. So how do you have an entire state, all of these people, how do you not have leverage with all of those people to bargain for a better price? I don't get how this happened. And that now is a number that the district has to add on. This year it's over $5 million. Where is it? I don't know exactly what annual increase in wages and health insurance is 5.6. I don't know exactly what part of that is just for health benefits, but we don't get to that, we are given that number and we have to work with it. And you guys have to pay it.
And it's unfortunate because I think what we're seeing both locally in Burlington and at a statewide level is the intersection of affordable housing, education, and healthcare, and those three things alone, and that piece of where they all intersect on the Venn diagram is really, I think, where a lot of the discussion is going to be taking place down in Montpelier for this legislative session. So,
And a lot of the tone, and I mean, basically what the governor is proposing is a reduction in the money that gets paid for administrative type stuff. So there is a push to do more statewide things in the spirit of combining resources. And as wonderfully socialist as that sounds, it also kind of has like a little bit of a like, wait, is this like a state takeover vibe? Or is this like a, we're going to be one big happy family vibe? It's really hard to tell. So we just have to see how things play out. But I mean, like, Vermonters love their local control for good reasons. You know?
transformative change is never easy.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm hoping there'll be a happy medium, because the financial sustainability of property taxes, I mean, we all know it's bad in Burlington, but it's bad everywhere in Vermont, and it is kind of baffling. Like, why is everything?
Worse than Woodstock or something.
Yeah, so, we do. Our cost of living.
Said it was worse in Woodstock down there.
Anyway, so hopefully their efforts will bring us some financial stability without any compromise to educating students.
All right. Well, any final questions? I believe that was about 15 minutes, which is half of the time we allotted. But if anyone has any questions, I don't want to cut them off. But yes. Thank you, Commissioner Waltz and Milo Grant.
Thank you. I'm Milo Grant. I am currently your Central District City Councilor, and that covers wards 2 and 3 and all of the neighborhoods. And our wonderful district, our very, very unique district. We are definitely the most not only ethnically diverse group of people, but economically, the way our neighborhoods are structured. I've been following the battle of leashing cats and how that's playing out. Yeah, so I'm very proud to be in this position, to have people trusting me. It's an honor not to have an opponent this time around. I have to be very honest. I don't know if I could be running a proper campaign, because the first time I ran, I just had my full-time job, which was a full-time job. Now I have a full-time job and a city councilor and committees and meeting with constituents and taking phone calls and doing Zoom meetings.
And the NPA.
And the NPA, 2 of them.
Yeah.
So it's really, really a lot. I would like to echo what was said about wanting to see things through. I feel the same way. I feel that there's things going on in the city, and we've been taking steps to address things, but the way we have so many complicated issues, right? Our community safety issues, our housing issues, and other things. These are not overnight fixes. These are things that literally take years to complete and to negotiate and to get to a point where we can vote on them. I am incredibly supportive of Mayor Emma Mulvaney-Stanek. I think we are very, very lucky to have her. I would like to see her have more support on the council. I have been, I guess we'll do the good, the bad, and the ugly. How about that? We could do the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good is that we have moved forward with a neighborhood code. That was a massive undertaking that took a very, very long time, very devoted work of people in the planning department and various committees. I did not agree with Mayor Weinberger on a lot of things, but neighborhood code was definitely something that the city needed to do and needed to update. It's very clear to everyone we do not have the amount of housing that we need, period. It's just a given. It's affecting everyone. It affects anyone who's young, who wants to consider making their life here. It affects college students who might be here temporarily. It affects people who want to age in place. It affects families with children. It affects employers that are trying to find people to work, but they can't take these jobs because there's no place for them to live, and we can't diversify our employers as fast as we would like, because why would new businesses want to necessarily set up in our community if they know they can't find employees because they can't find housing? And the list goes on and on about how people are affected by our lack of housing units, and especially our lack of, and I don't even say affordable. I mean, there's like, what is affordable, right? It's low-cost affordable. The rents that we are seeing now are quite astonishing, and I do believe that these high rents are definitely affecting our local economy. Our businesses are talking about the loss of local business, and it's not just the loss of other Vermonters who come to Burlington to shop. It is the loss of people who live in Burlington. We might come down for a meal. We might come down for coffee, tea. We don't come down to shop. We don't, because there is a feeling from a lot of people that the marketplace isn't for them. So how do we address that? And how do we support businesses now, especially during all this construction? This construction is going to be going on for quite some time, and there are some meeting with the business, as a matter of fact, Friday morning, to discuss some struggles that they're having, and the loss of income due to the lack of parking. If you had told me people would start complaining about the lack of parking spaces and not community safety issues, I would never have believed it. But that's literally what's happening right now. Is people, I'm not going to Burlington because I won't find a place to park. So the narrative has changed in that capacity. So we've got to think, I know I just deviated to businesses, but that is something that's really been on my mind a lot lately, is how do we promote our downtown in different and more innovative ways. I appreciate what's being done, but I feel we could be doing something different, and I think we should really be capturing the college student market. Like, I feel like some businesses, you're surrounded by thousands of college students who are living off campus right around our area. How are we not leveraging that in some way? But back to housing, I am concerned there's some pretty extreme NIMBYism in our city. That concerns me gravely. Everyone knows we need more units. Everyone knows it's not only just a matter of having places for people to live and thrive, it's a matter of building our grand list so that the property tax burden is reduced because we have more properties that have been developed and that we can collect more taxes on to help ease burden. It's very, very distressing to me when everyone wants to do amendments to make exceptions to certain parts of the city. Yeah, we need development, but not here. And the fact that people are literally saying that out loud is amazing to me.
even in Shelburne, I don't know if everyone saw the article about the development that's being proposed in Shelburne. And literally there was someone who said, knowing that their own child was having problems finding affordable housing, they were like, no, we don't want that development here. And they recognized what they were saying. And they understood what they were saying. And they just didn't care. They didn't care about their own child. That was pretty amazing to me. The NIMBYism continues to be a concern, and I hope that we will get back to discussing the UVM MOU. That is probably not going to happen until they have a new permanent president. Right now they have an interim president. So that's something kind of on the list to look at, and we are starting to get close to voting on the UVM-MC, the medical center MOU. And there's someone sent an email, and they were just really concerned about the potential changes it could bring. And they were like, think about this if it was in your neighborhood. And then I was like, the building in the pit. Cambrian Rise is right outside of us. Several projects, the Innovation District in the South. I'm like, we are already seeing this. We already have taller buildings. So my perspective was a little bit different, and I will be replying to that email as gently as I can. I also, the fact that, this is an area that's really heavy with students. What are the voices of the students? The students are starting to get really vocal about the situation of housing in Burlington, the cost of it, the quality of it, the quality of housing on campus. Harris Millis has an infestation of silverfish. And I'm like, somebody take care of that, please. So there's, and then they did the tiered pricing for dorms. So the newer dorms cost more to live in, and the older dorms cost less. So they've created these tiers and classes of housing. So it's very concerning, some decisions that they've made up there, and that affects students who are no longer freshmen and sophomores. Will they stay in a dorm or try to stay in a dorm? No, they're going to want to come out and be living off of campus. And that has always been the case with our relationship with the University of Vermont, but just getting back to the numbers, the sheer numbers and the our almost non-existent vacancy rate and how that's affecting us. And it's affecting students too. It's affecting parents. You see parents talking about it online. My kid says I have to sign a lease a year in advance. That's insane. That can't be true. And then getting all these replies, yep, it's true, and you're lucky they found a place. So we'll be at some point talking about that, but that is something that students are talking about, and as also permanent or long-term residents are talking about as well. I really would, so the NIMBYism, and then just the support for that NIMBYism on the council is really concerning, that there isn't a citywide view. And I guess that's something I want to work on more. I'd like to see more counselors think about the city as a whole. I'm seeing some really bad decisions being made about community safety from some of the out-of-ward counselors that are not understanding what the inner-ward residents are going through. Don't tell me graffiti should be the #1 problem we're facing. I like, literally, that they were filmed in a live meeting and they said it, and I just was like, this, and I emailed them. I said, this is just one of the more insensitive things that I've heard. I was like, no one in the central district is going to make graffiti #1. Is graffiti a problem? Yes, we suffer from blight. And when you suffer from blight, especially during COVID, where all these plans that were supposed to move forward just stopped completely in Memorial Auditorium, and then the building that the old Y used to be in has turned over 3 times at least. Vacant buildings, yes, 3 times. So we have the, so there was the original company that bought it, so that after the Y moved into the new building, they were going to build boutique hotels.
That was based out of Florida, I believe.
I believe, I'm not sure. But then COVID happened. So then when we're starting to come out of COVID, they decided that the numbers no longer worked. So then they sold to a different company that was also going to do hotels. Then they were like, what? Soil issues? Possible remediation? What do you mean? What does this mean? So they started to be like, we don't know if we want to do this. And then they moved to, they got involved with the developers at the Pit. So the hotel that's going to be going on in the Pit is the people that were going to do the old Y, but now they're going to do the hotel in the Pit. And now there are new owners for the old Y building, and they want to do residential units, and they want to do a good mix of residential units in that we wouldn't just have studios and 1 bedrooms. We would have a mix of including 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, possibly 4 bedrooms, which we really don't have new housing stock that's doing that. I don't know the status of that building. I have been asking I think it would be great if we had a place on our website that had all these projects listed. What's been approved, what's being proposed, what's the status, when's the construction. There really isn't one place to find that information, and that's been driving me crazy, and so I've been asking about that. I also want, when we think about a citywide view, we need to think about how one ward, if they're being affected by something, and my main concern, of course, is that we were very heavily affected by the drug crisis first. We always had more drug activity. The data is clear. We always had associated crimes, package, porch pirates that people would call, car break, and we always had those higher numbers, and then they started to increase dramatically. That spread to the rest of the city while we were the canary in the coal mine. So we really had some failures with responses, and everybody in our neighborhoods know all the drug houses. Everybody knows where they are. Everybody knows who's operating out of them. All the different streets, and they operated with impunity and became subject to traffickers that have been coming outside of the state of Vermont and coming here to deal not only just in Burlington but in other municipalities in our state. So a citywide view is going to be really, really important for a lot of decisions that we'll be looking at. I think Mayor Emma's got a lot of really great ideas. This idea of ultimately having a new building to house police and fire is fantastic. A new idea of continuing to expand our community response system, I think is great. And being a former police commissioner and seeing all these professional positions develop and expand has been really fantastic. I went to the swearing-in ceremony last week at the police department. There were 10 positions. There was these are positions that have been hired in the last few months being recognized and going through the swearing-in ceremony. There was a new recruitment coordinator who was a former CSO, so that's great to see them stepping up into that position. There's a new command assistant, which is going to be really important. The executive manager, Shannon Trammell, is the glue that's holding that place together, and she's going to be a really integral part of helping to keep the police department steady as we go through interim chiefs and a search for a new chief. So and she's been doing like literally 4 or 5 jobs. So for her to finally have a command assistant. 3 new CSOs, community service officers. I believe there were 2 CSLs, community support liaisons. There was a CARES clinician, And there was something, a new records clerk. So in all, there were like 10 positions. There was only one new recruit for the academy.
Yeah, I saw that.
It's not good. That's not good. So we need to be in a better place where we're driving applications. There is some final decisions being made with regards to a vendor that is going to help the department with some online stuff. So in terms of driving applications, driving social media, which helps with recruitment. There's so much to be done. And I feel like we are running down the clock with regards to getting to a place where we can have an administration at the department that works with other department heads like IT and human resources, which regrettably has not been happening and has caused a lot of, oh my gosh, a lot of delays. Recent votes. I've been concerned about some of these community safety resolutions. I've not been voting for them.
Counselor Grant, I
yes.
apologize. I don't want to interrupt. I believe there's a planned system update at 8:30 tonight,
what
and we
time is
don't
it?
want to have tech
We have
problems
8:45.
We have 8:30.
until 8:30.
No, we actually have until 8:45.
But I have a question.
No. I'm going to definitely make room for questions.
You
I thought
haven't-
about like
you haven't
3
done.
months. Oh, I'm sorry.
You haven't done. When can I cross Battery Street safely?
No, he's got a good point.
That's a good point.
We're talking about community safety here.
I
I don't feel safe walking to the Y.
I will actually look into that. They had last year, there's going to be a big project with Battery Street, looking at the park and all of that. It won't be immediate, but we can find out when that, it's not a good, I drive by it all the time, I walk it all the
cross it every
time.
day.
Yeah.
Now, how do you work with Joe Kane?
How do I
What's
work
his-
with,
What's the difference between your job and his job?
what's the difference?
Who do you like veg to?
You can, certainly to both of us.
I just did.
Sure, yeah, no, and I'm definitely going to make note of that.
You said she would do that.
I
She said
think,
she'd do that, now you're saying it.
I think that, well, there is a major project
Just
planned
change the
for,
timing of the traffic light.
which, I'm not sure that
College and Battery Street.
College and Battery
College and
Street.
Battery.
Yeah, no, College and Battery is really, and there should be a left turn lanes, they're not.
Yeah.
I take my life in my hand every time I turn left onto College.
And you
Yeah.
take other people, because they're
Yep.
Now,
skittering.
this sounds silly. I'm
Yeah.
sure it sounds silly. And all the
No,
other-
it's not.
All the other important stuff that you're talking about. But our concern, living downtown for 25 years, is I'm frightened to walk to the Y, and I'm worried about crossing Battery Street. So, fix it.
Noted,
Thank you. I'm not on
noted.
Guess we're segueing into the questions. Did that conclude the good, or the bad, or the ugly?
No, there were a couple of things, a couple of more things. I want to say that I am, one of the reasons I've been really hesitant about the resolutions is that they've been premature. They don't consult with the mayor, which I think is not only just rude, it's disrespectful. They don't take into consideration other priorities that have already been established and are in queue. They also don't take into consideration certain protocols. So, for example, when you're negotiating for a potential property, negotiating for a potential maybe temporary building, you don't talk about that stuff publicly because it could place the city at a disadvantage. That is standard protocol. The Maritimes, I feel like she's being bullied to reveal details that wouldn't be acceptable under other circumstances. So I'd like us to really be aware that this type of behavior is damaging to where we want to be for the city as a whole. And I think we have to think of resolutions, if they can't be bipartisan, that's a real problem, because you can't say that you're doing something conciliatory and you're rebuilding if it's literally constantly across party lines. And a gesture, no matter how well-meaning, is not a plan. And we don't need any more committees. We don't need any more task force. We know what the specific problems are. We just have to act upon it. The bonds, did Jean talk about the bonds and all that? Great. The only thing I will add is that when I look at the cost of our water bills and how they're going to go up, I think about the fact of how scary it would be if I couldn't flush my toilet. So the deferred maintenance has come home to roost. If something breaks before we have time to invest in it and catch up on all this deferred maintenance, it's going to cost a lot more.
It's going to be a poop show.
I took a tour. It was really it was very interesting. It was very, very interesting. Let me,
I can ask some questions while you're.
Yeah. Oh, the only other thing I wanted to say was the Burlington Lead Program. There was a front porch forum post today. They are accepting new applications. Burlington, especially in our district, is full of really old housing stock, pre-1978. So worth it to check that post out because you may. It doesn't sound long ago, but we all know how old the units are that we are living. And this program is open to not only people who own their homes, but also people in rental units and working with landlords. Thank you, and I will. I'm sure I could go on for a very long time, but I am happy to take questions.
I just have a couple comments and questions. I'm very glad to see that the council, in collaboration with the mayor, have taken on the wastewater, stormwater, and drinking water issues with our infrastructure. I recently had an opportunity to visit family over near Glens Falls, New York, and I asked my stepfather, hey, what's going on? He's like, check out this article. And it was an article about how the city of Glens Falls had some unexpected maintenance issues with their sewer plant, and due to aging infrastructure, they are now dealing with sinkholes at various places throughout the city where the sewer infrastructure is collapsing. So hopefully we are able to avoid that with these upgrades. I did want to comment about the recruitment issue. I recently had the opportunity to visit Minnesota, and as I typically do when I'm traveling, I approached one of the officers at the airport and said, hey, we're hiring in Burlington. We got lots of snow. You guys are used to that, Minnesota.
It's actually warm.
Hockey's not as good, but, we got mountains, so you can pick up skiing and snowboarding if that's your thing. And, the first response was, Burlington, Vermont, didn't you guys defund your police? And, I go around, and particularly in the New England area in New York, and and talk to the officers, and you kind of get a laughing reaction a lot of time. And I think what I've learned in talking with people in law enforcement is that it's a very unique job in some ways, in the sense that there's a lot of risk involved when responding and things of that nature, much like any other first responder. But at the same time, when you're going home at the end of the day and you're wondering, why am I doing this? No one values and appreciates the work that I'm doing. That's usually a good time to try to find a better fit somewhere else. And that's kind of the reaction I get when I talk to other folks, in other departments and try to encourage them to come to Burlington laterally. And, I think it's not a scientific thing. And again, people that have been doing it for a while, they have families, so it may not be easy for them to pack up and move. But still, one of the comments I heard over on the New York side of the lake is, well, we know what's going on in Burlington. We watch the news. We're in the same media market. We see WPTZ. So I think there's a perception issue there. Now, I certainly think that there's, we can maybe investigate our strategies for how we're advertising online to increase the applicant pool. I do think that we need to realize that
we're not. That's been the problem.
Well,
that we don't need a task force.
Right, but I think the issue that I'm trying to make is that within law enforcement circles, Burlington has a reputation as being a toxic work environment for any number of reasons.
Yes, because we have not had a strategic plan to improve our reputation. People literally think we were fully defunded, which is not true. And it is regrettable. We've had people I listened to an interview. People were like, you have to listen. They said fully defunded. And I had to listen to this interview. And I was like, wow, they said fully defunded. And the radio host didn't even question it. Fully defund, no. And we've been throwing a lot of money. And if I've got to look you all in the face, property tax holders, I need some more accountability for these hundreds of thousands of dollars that we've given for recruitment. You know, I need an accounting of that when the fire department, who also has issues with staffing because they've had a lot of retirements, and they've had people make some changes in their lives. And all across this country, recruitment for first responders is just harder, period. People are no longer knocking the door the way they used to. But they had a plan. They had a plan for lateral transfers. They only have like $3,200 for retention. The cost is so much less when you're using social media. It's just a matter of having leadership that is going to work and participate in the process. And we're running down the clock until we have that. But you're right. There's the perception, there's the various scandals that we've regrettably had that aren't related to defunding, but are related to things that have affected community engagement, the issue with our kids and the YES program. Suddenly the Roosevelt Park incident from 2017 is coming back up in conversations, and that affected how a lot of people in the old North End felt about the department, the use of force lawsuits. We still have an open case. We've had cases hanging over us for years. So we need to be addressing that. We have not been addressing that. That is one of the things I have just been a broken record on. And we just need to get to that place. So how do we do that, and how do we do that in a bipartisan way? I had a fellow counselor say to me, you always talk about a strategic plan. What does that mean? Well, if you don't know what it means, let me speak on it. I'm not allowed to speak longer than my 5 minutes for public safety updates.
Just a friendly reminder, the public only gets 2.
I know. I understand. And there are some counselors who don't even want to do that. I'm just like, so it's very, there is so much we can do to improve the situation at BPD. So I am looking forward to a new day where we can start to make these things happen.
Thank you for doing all that for us, by the way.
Thank you.
You really have been fantastic,
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Well, thank you, Counselor Grant. Charlie, you have a question?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's all right. You didn't have eyes in the back of your head. Couldn't see it. The defund the police was like kind of a sit-in demonstration by kids in their 20s for a couple of days or for a week. And in the 60s, people who were 20, you lie down in front of a railroad train, just to prove a point. And there was a whole lot of sacrifice kind of thinking, but what was important is the slogans are what live. Take pictures, then they could live. But we have to make sure people know that defund the police never happened as such and was a big controversy for several weeks, years ago. And because that's the truth.
There is a huge issue about constantly relitigating the past that has held back this city. We are constantly relitigating the past. This idea that removing a cap which didn't mean anything because we can't even get to the budgeted number of officers. We are worse off than we were a year ago. But if that gesture meant something to some people, I will respect that. But at the end of the day, a gesture, no matter how meaningful it is still not a plan. Because the question now becomes, now what? Right? Don't have anything else in that resolution. The ones they did in September, the chief didn't follow the request for the report. He handed in a report that the mayor was like, I can't use this. I'm not going to accept it. That put her in an extraordinary position. And where was I have to admit, though, he did throw me a bone and he put social media. What's the social media plan? Anything you read on recruitment and retention, whether it's from the left, from the right, in the middle, anything you read on recruitment and retention talks about using 21st century tools, which is online digital advertising, online search engine optimization, and social media. So, have you all heard the Wookiee story? The Wookiee, I've been telling the Wookiee story real quick. So I've been looking at videos that went viral for different police departments across North America and some other countries. So there were two in particular that struck out to me in this article that I was reading and watching the videos that they had.
Where was this police department? Was it in a galaxy far, far away?
Nice. This was in Fort Worth, Texas. And it started with a roll call, and officers were being told what they're going to be doing during the day. And they pointed to one officer, and they said to him, you're going to have the Wookiee. And the officer's like, oh, you mean the rookie? And they said, no, the Wookiee. And the camera pans back, and it's Chewbacca sitting in roll call. And so then the rest of the video is Chewbacca, being a rookie police officer. The traffic stop goes really badly, but it was funny. There was a lot of humor.
We need to link it in the notes.
Yeah. And then the second one that really grabbed my attention was a picture of a young boy, not like people walking by dressed in heavier clothing, and he was not, and he looked dirty, and he's going through a garbage can. People just walking by this young boy, and then a woman stops and asks him if he's okay. Do you need help? Are your parents around? And then all of a sudden the camera pans back and you hear a voiceover and says, would you be the one to stop? We're looking for you. And that was I can't remember that particular department, but it was just, you read these ways of using social media, enacting things that represent what your department was about. The fire department did a little video that was in-house, about a little bit over a minute long. They put it up on social media, they boosted it. Cost like $11.54 for the campaign, 11 cents a click. 2.5 weeks, they had something like 15, 16 applications with 5 to 6 people that were qualified to move forward. In 2.5 weeks. As of July of this year, we had a total of only 26 applications come through BPD. And have tried to get additional information, but they have not been forthcoming with that. And that's how you measure success, right? You measure success about, are we driving more applications? First thing is we need to be increasing more applications, showing that we are getting more interest, and then, how many of those applications are qualified to move forward. That's really important. And what could we be doing to get more lateral transfers? That is, people who are already officers in other places, so they don't have to be in the academy. They would just start like kind of their field training. As it is, a recruit has got 16 weeks in the academy, and then when they get out of the academy, they've got to do their field training. So it's a very long curve. These are things we need to continue to talk about and make happen. And I believe that'll happen under new leadership. And everyone should be reading the BPOA survey. It is crucial information. It is eye-opening. I mean, someone said literally, recruitment doesn't seem to be an emergency. That's a comment from a police officer and how they feel with regards to what's happening.
The result of the decline in staffing ratios has necessarily resulted in a lot lot of overtime, and while that's certainly attractive initially with the additional dollars, it gets old quick.
It's really old quick. It's too much. They're
Kindly
held
post
over.
that as a standalone post on Front Porch Forums for the district if you have not already done so. I think I saw it, but it probably wouldn't hurt to post it again.
The survey? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The report in the beginning, just go right by it and just go straight to the comments. I've been really analyzing them. I've got little codes, wellness, leadership, R&R, recruitment and retention, and then just other things that they cover.
Very eye-opening.
It's very eye-opening.
I was surprised.
And I think at our last meeting, we had someone talk about how a friend of theirs was going to the academy, but choosing to go to, I think they said Stowe, because of the internal toxicity, And this survey shows it, people not being treated, fairly, favoritism over scheduling, chiefs violating rules and directives and nothing being done about it, lowering of standards. It's very, very, some comments are really short. Other comments are very long and very thoughtful, just kind of letting it all out. It's regretful that they didn't make this public earlier, that it had to be pulled out of them. There is precedent for talking about these surveys publicly. When I was on the police commission, we did that. It's been interesting reading. I had to print it out. And if I can, I just open and try to read a couple of pages each day, but it's a lot. But it's extremely informative, and I want to see it be used as a blueprint for building back.
Thank you. So I know Chris has one question himself, but.
I do have a question.
Okay, Commissioner Waltz. Oh. Okay, 2 questions, and then we have one thing left on our agenda, city council updates.
So there's a.
Yeah.
Which I kind of did,
We were hoping Councilor Kane would join us tonight, but that does not appear to be the case.
Always optimistic.
Radical hope.
Trying.
Doors always open.
So
But
being involved with
Commissioner
the
Waltz.
school district, a lot about the protocol for hiring, the policy, the procedure. Things have really tightened up, and it's incredibly transparent and very, like seeing how many applicants, where they're from, how many moved forward, being able to have access to resumes. As a municipality, how come we never see any of that kind of stuff from the police department? And knowing that this is such a problem, you would think that information would like, things would be more effective, or structure or systems would be put in place that would hopefully be more effective. And even if they weren't, at least it would be out there for people to start thinking about and improving on. Like, without folks knowing, they can't offer insight. They can't offer advice.
All of that is true. All of that has been repeatedly brought up.
Yeah.
And discussed, and it's issues of leadership, not wanting to work with people. I will say the July 24 Public Safety Committee meeting is still extremely interesting. It is with the recruitment team. Corporal Irwin shared, she had blacked out the names, but she shared a spreadsheet that she used, and it was then when we saw, wait, year to date, only like 25, 26 applications? We had no idea. And then when asked for at least monthly numbers, the chief said, he said no, and then I pushed back, and then he said he would think about it, but we never got it. So I'm just waiting, I'm counting down the days where we can get to a place to say, this is the information that we need, and to get it. And the mayor has run into this as well. He doesn't respond to any of the ideas. He's not working with the other departments, as I mentioned earlier, human resources, IT. It's just Yeah, it's just, even simple things like, if city councilors want to show up to the swearing ins and we want to support the new employees, we need more advance warning. It's a simple request. You know, I work a full-time job. I work out in Essex. When I get a 2 or 3 day notice, I can't go. I don't have that warning. I know you've planned this longer in advance, but that's what they were giving. So that became a fight in a public safety committee meeting. He treated it like a hostile request, and Councilor Barlow then spoke up and said, Chief, I would appreciate more notice. And this last swearing in, we almost got a full month notice, and you ended up with almost the full council there to meet and support these new employees. But why is every request a hostile request? So I think there's going to be a lot of changes. It's going to hurt. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be stressful. The mayor is working very, very hard right now, trying first to start with an interim chief. She's got to get interim chiefs in there. And then I'm very confident that the search for a new chief is going to be very open and transparent, unlike the last one.
Shawnee?
I just so you want to get a microphone. So okay. Hello. I'll just sit in here really quickly. I just wanted to add that I think it's negligent if we don't acknowledge the fact that the nation's perception of the police is pretty bad. And the violence and the reputation of police in general is very bad. So I just wanted to bring that up into the conversation because it hadn't been, that the police uphold a racist, toxic, misogynistic, homophobic, I think that, it would just be a discredit if we didn't include that in the thoughts of this, because that is where a lot of especially young people are at right now. You were just talking about the encampment. So I just wanted to kind of put that up there because it hadn't really been mentioned.
No, thank you. When we have the issues with the lawsuits, right? When we had those, so first of all, I got to give props to those young people in the encampment sleeping in Battery Park. There were a lot of people my age, younger, with families who couldn't do that. I would buy a meal from People's Kitchen. I would try to support in other ways. I think one of the things that has not been, and under the prior mayoral administration, just not honest about why we were having protests. This idea that it was a fad that these young people were jumping on. No, they had very specific demands that were specific to the city of Burlington because we had things happen here, period. That was our reality, and we have to stop denying that. And we haven't repaired that harm. And it's, and people know that. People know that. The Roosevelt Park incident that's been coming up a lot lately, Del Pozo at the time, Chief Del Pozo at the time, he said, well, it doesn't matter now because these kids have grown up and left. So it took 2 years to get the body cam footage released. Someone took the time to take that long to fight to have access to that body cam footage. So the incident happened in 2017. Vermont Supreme Court allowed the footage to be released in 2019. And this idea that, these kids have grown up and gone away, no, that wasn't true. That wasn't true. And it confirmed with the community who lived in that area, when you have new Americans as neighbors and they're your friends and you know what's happening, you know those kids are being profiled, so to actually see it and to only have excuses made, it's just really hurtful. It's just really hurtful. And because it's come up, I've gone back and I've rewatched the footage, and it's just been really difficult. It was like, wow, you're literally putting handcuffs on these kids. You wouldn't go to Callahan Park, or one of the parks where it's predominantly white kids and do the same thing. And you would never have done that. The idea that a supervisor would be telling officers, every time we get a call here, someone's going to be leaving in handcuffs, and you're threatening to pepper spray kids, and you're putting kids, children, arguing over a phone, and you're telling them it doesn't matter. You're telling a teenager their phone doesn't matter. Like, what do you, so I just wonder, a clear lack of de-escalation tactics, and there's a residual for that. What happened to the Millie brothers? All of that has resonated with some people, and there are things we can do to improve that, but that hasn't occurred yet.
And now it feels like people at the helm of BPD and people that are supporting BPD right now are asking for an apology. That's what it feels like. It feels like they've shifted it. Like, okay, now basically we can't, the reason that the department is toxic, or the reason that, we can't get any recruits or any of this, is basically because, the city is not being supportive, and therefore, people are not being supportive, and therefore we should all apologize. And it seems like that last resolution, city councilors were kind of saying, I don't know. I just don't get it. It's exhausting. It's like gaslighting. Or
it's really gaslighting.
It's like, hey,
I'm sorry. It is obviously important discussions to be had long term. It is 8:45. We do need to adjourn.
I will just say, as a city councilor, I have voted for hella amounts of funding for that department.
Thank you, Councillor Grant, and all of our other presenters tonight. The next meeting for Ward 3 is Wednesday, March 5th. Have a wonderful night, everyone. Stay warm, stay safe.